many of you know. They are two incredible people. In the last couple of years, I've had the honor of being able to see them do their thing with literally thousands of kids around the Baltimore area. Bradley, I think most of you know, is the starting left guard for the Baltimore Ravens and is a superstar on our team. Looking forward to a Super Bowl this year. Hopefully, we'll have some NFL this year. And Nikki is probably the best athlete among us, having been a star basketball player who I've seen play. She is a dominant force on the basketball court, was a star at the University of Alabama, a star center, and just two incredible people. So guys, welcome to Facebook Live.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
So I figured we'd just get started, and just how are you guys doing? How's everything going with being at home and the coronavirus and training and all the rest? How's it going?
It's been good. It's been just another day in quarantine, but it's just trying to make the best out of it and take this opportunity to do a lot of home projects and just trying to stay busy. So
Nick, how are you doing? How are you doing with Bradley? How is he doing being at home every day?
It's good. I just told him right now, I was like, you're whistling. You cannot whistle. He's like a constant whistler. I'm like, we either have to have some music or something. But other than that, it's been good. We've been doing a lot of home projects, keeping us busy. So it's been every day we're like, all right, what are we tackling today? Because it kind of gives you like a sense of direction for the day.
So I got a lot of questions in advance, and before we start talking serious stuff about anti-bullying and your foundation and your cross-country RV tour and all the rest. So Bradley, I've had about a dozen questions as to how's it going preparing for the NFL season, and about 100 people texting me saying, find out if we're having an NFL season. So any commentary on that? Any news you could break here?
I wish they would loop me in, but I know about as much as everyone else does. So we're preparing like there's going to be a season. I intend there be a season 100%. I think we're going to play, so I'm just getting ready for the season. So just doing the typical things we'd be doing in this time.
You doing would now be like OTAs and things like that, or like where are you in the power? Just basically working out.
So I mean, typically in a normal schedule, we're in kind of OTA where we're starting to transition into OTAs. This is week 2 of the workout, and just we're just going away at it. And right now it's working out, it's running, it's meeting on Zoom. It's just trying to be the best version of ourselves.
That's great. All right. Well, so not moving away from football, though I have a feeling we're going to get a lot of questions about football, but I want, it has been for me an absolute pleasure to issue that we've all talked about together a lot, something I care very deeply about. You guys have taken it to a whole nother level, this issue of anti-bullying and the creation of your Bradley and Nikki Bozeman Foundation. So can you tell people, because a lot of people have heard about your efforts and going around to schools, like why are you two so passionate about this issue?
I mean, for us, me and Nikki have a common ground in bullying. We weren't both like this when we were kids. I tell the kids I like Augustus Gloop from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So it's just we struggled with that growing up, and kids calling me fat and stupid, and all that typical childhood stuff that a lot of people face. I was very lucky. I had some great parents that taught me the values of who I was as a person and what I stand for in this life. So just trying to pass that message along and trying to change some kids' lives and show them that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
I think mine too was I was super tall, so I was like probably 5'7", 5'8", and like probably 5th or 6th grade, like going into middle school. So I remember like being taller than my 5th grade teacher, which was a guy, and so I was just like super tall. And obviously, when you look a little different, it tends to lead to people pointing that out. So I was always, just abnormally tall for our age, and so that's where it kind of started for me. And I think we both kind of figured out we had a common ground when we were younger and kind of working through it. Our outlets were sports, and I guess we can kind of get into that later about our spiel for like why we're like going to these schools and what we're talking about. But yeah, we just kind of like found out that this is how we kind of got through it, and so we're trying to share a message to kind of help these kids.
So you both were bullied when you were children, and like, how did that manifest itself? Besides being called, name? Obviously, it's a different time, right? I mean, like now it's all online and Facebook and so. But did you experience that, or is it more kind of face to face? And then I guess, you know, for kids that are out there that are being bullied, like, you know, how did you face it? How did you each face, you know, the bullies that you know were experiencing?
For me, it was mostly face to face. I think when in the time period that Nikki and I were growing up, I mean, Facebook and all that wasn't really a huge thing. I think that didn't really happen until we got into probably high school. At least for me, the later end of my high school career. But it was just, I was very fortunate. Kind of grew out of it pretty quickly and got into the football field, and then kind of turned that page pretty early in my career because I was so big. I mean, I was so much bigger than everyone else, and just to be able to face those guys and to be able to kind of stand up for myself. And yeah.
I think mine too was mine obviously started face to face on the bus. So as you've probably heard in some of our stints, vividly remember Travis from the bus.
Travis.
Yep, Travis, never forget it. But so mine kind of started on the bus when I was younger, and then it kind of led into middle school. I always start out with telling the kids, your parents always like love to point out how they had it so much harder than you growing up, and they can tell them that they have it harder than them because they have social media, which their parents did not have growing up. And so we were saying how the rise of social media has been such a big thing in the last like 10-ish years. So they have to deal with it from the time they wake up till the time they go to bed. They can't, a lot of people like really us, we went to school from 8 to 2 or 8 to 3, and that was the only time where we had to worry about it. And when we got home, we were home. But they're different because, they, by the time they have a cell phone, they can see it from sun up to sundown or eyes open, eyes closed. But so mine was really face to face on the bus, but then it was kind of more into high school. I never really had, I think MySpace was a big thing. I never really had MySpace or any of that. So I guess I was either kind of sheltered, I guess you could say, because I didn't really see what people were saying. But I mean, girls were just ruthless in high school. It wasn't really to the face anymore because it was girls talking behind your back or talking about you online.
Right.
So that was just like a different. It was the same but different. It went from confrontation on the bus to talking behind your back online. So it was just like a similar form but different. And so I think we both kind of just threw ourselves into our sport, and that's what we preach to the kids like when we go, finding your like outlet or finding your why. And how I describe it to them is like, and it goes for really any age. What would you be so excited if I were to wake you up every morning at 3 a.m.? What would you be so excited to do? Some people's like mine used to be or mine is basketball. And then it could be baking. It could be filming, makeup tutorials on YouTube or hair tutorials. We have a lot of friends that do that, and that's what they love. And then like guitar, it can literally be anything as long as it's constructive. That's what you would wake up every morning at 3 a.m. to do, then that's your why. So we preach that, and it's like a big message for us because if you can find your why and you can find your passion and outlet early, you can train your brain that whenever anytime you're having these like distress or anytime you're having these like something's going wrong, you can train your brain to say, okay, now it's time for me to like go play the guitar, now it's time for me to go pick up a basketball, because it's kind of like that circle where, okay, this sucks but I can combat it with this. And so and I'm it's kind of long-winded, but when we go to the schools, we talk about mountains. So as when people say things to you that are hurtful, or they talk about you online, or they do anything to hurt you, it creates this mountain. It piles and piles and piles and piles on top of each other. Well, if you can find your outlet or your why early, instead of climbing that mountain, which a lot of kids these days do, going back to social media, the rise in social media is the past 10 years, and the rise of childhood suicide. So the suicide is the leading killer in young adults over the past 10 years. And I think that's want to say it's hand in hand, but I want to say there's a big influence of social media coming about, close to 10 years ago with Facebook and MySpace. So what's happening is that mountain is building, and they're climbing up that mountain, and they're getting to the top, and they're like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. Nobody's here to help me. And then that's when all the other stuff comes in. Whereas now we're trying to get to them early so we can teach them that, you need to find something constructive so that when those things start to pile, you can sweep them to the side. And we always tell them, it's like you can sweep them to the side and you can walk through it. You're still going to see them, like you're still going to see the mounds on either side of you, but you're going to be able to walk through them. And that's why it's important, because it's not like you're climbing this mountain by yourself. You're able to walk through it. It'll still hurt. It'll still be painful, but you'll be able to get through it by being able to find this coping mechanism with, your outlet or your why. So that's kind of why we go into the schools, to kind of tell our story, but share that message with them in hopes that they can start now and not wait till they're halfway up the mountain or all the way up the mountain to be like, oh gosh, what do I do now?
That's amazing. And I've had the absolute privilege of seeing you guys do your thing with students a number of times. Let me ask you this, that didn't just start in Baltimore, though. You all were doing this. I mean, you both graduated from the University of Alabama in 2000 and, sorry.
I was 16. He was 18.
You were 18. You were 2006. So you guys were doing this thing, your assemblies and everything down in Alabama as well. I think I read somewhere that you did, 30, 40, 50 schools in the Alabama, maybe even more, in the Alabama area. Where did you come up with this idea? And like, I don't know, it's just an amazing thing. Like, how did you guys get started doing this thing, talking to the kids? Was it just somebody you knew? And I'm sorry, that's my question. I mean, because I started reading up on it, and I didn't actually know that. I knew that you were doing it here, but I didn't realize how much you had been doing it down at the University of Alabama.
Right. So we were asked to come to this school, or we were actually asked to do a video for this little girl that was getting bullied. And so, we contacted the person back. It's like, well, why don't, we come to the school and we'll talk to the girl, give her some inspirational, talk or whatever. And then we get there and the principal's like, well, do you want to talk to the entire school? And we're like, sure. Like, if you would have known me at the time, I am not a public speaker at all. Like, in a million years, I would not have said that I was going to be doing public speaking.
If I told him he had to go public speak, he would immediately start sweating.
So we went in, and I mean, the words just started flowing, and the emotions started rolling, and it was just this, just calling to Nikki and I. When we got back to the car, we just both started bawling. Just the impact that we felt, and how these kids are struggling. No matter where you're at, these kids are struggling. We knew, like, at that moment, that was what we're supposed to do. That was what our calling was. And ever since then, I mean, we've been on a roll ever since then. So
I think from then, though, for that period, I think it was like over a period. So that was kind of like our, oh my gosh, this is what we want to do. And then we kind of weren't really sure what to do with it, if that makes sense. So it was probably like a 6 to 8 month stint. And then I think somebody else called right before the draft, because when he graduated in, what did you graduate? You graduated early, but I'm saying like what month? Or were you still in school when you were
still in school.
Okay, he was still in school, but it was his last 2 months before the draft. And they were like, hey, will you come to this school? And hey, will you come to this school? And we're like, hey, we could actually just go to a bunch of schools. But I think we hit like 40.
No, it was 28.
28 schools in the month of April. And I think we've had about 40 schools total in Alabama.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I've seen it before. And I got to say, when you first told me what you were going to do, when we went to our first, I can't remember which school we went to here. It was Newtown Elementary or Fort Garrett. I can't remember which one. And you told me that you were going to ask the kids to share their own experiences. I was a little, I got to be honest, I'm like, okay, I was a little
It always freaks everyone out whenever I call the school and explain, because they're kind of like, what are you going to do? So I kind of tell them a little thing. And I tell them, at the end, we open the floor for kids to share their stories, to ask for advice, to, get things off their chest. And they're like, well, we don't, I'm like, trust me. So we create a very controlled environment. I scare them a little bit, and so that they all behave. And but we've
I've seen that
never
too.
had you what?
I've seen you guys do that too.
Yes, because you have to like set the tone right. Because if we were kind of like like I don't know,
Goofy.
yeah, like if we were just kind of like, oh yeah, then they wouldn't have taken it seriously, and then it would literally be nothing, and that's what the teachers would be afraid of. But we kind of like I would scare them isn't a really good term, but I very strongly encourage them not to goof off. And but it's literally one of the best parts of our segments because when kids are struggling, they want to tell someone and they want to talk to someone. They just really don't know who. And sometimes they just want to, talk off their chest. So, or get it off their chest. And we say all the time, if you're not feeling comfortable telling your story, you can ask for a friend, and you can be asking for a friend, asking advice of what to do. And that's kind of a way to ask whatever you would like to ask. And so, I know we get the question a lot. Because I really talk about like preaching an outlet, like finding your outlet and finding your why. Bradley really preaches like finding a person to kind of confide in, whether that's like an aunt or uncle or cousin or somebody around you, teacher, counselor. So it's kind of like a culmination of both, I think, is really like the success to it all. But when we talk about, finding someone to be able to trust and talk to, I know a lot of these kids will go into these schools and they're like, well, I don't want to go sit down with like our counselor. That's weird. They're an adult. We don't really know them. Like, I don't really know what to do. And so we encourage them to just like go introduce yourself. Go say like, hey, my name is, Brian, and I'm really excited that you're my counselor. And then just have them introduce their name. And then I say go back and like ask them if they have a family, ask them if they're married, ask them about their brothers and sisters. And that's it. And then leave. And I'm like, slowly go in there and ask them questions about them as the counselor. And then you'll be able to build that repertoire with them, and you'll be able to build that friendship, and then you'll feel comfortable opening up. But I don't encourage them because that's scary as like a kid to just go spill their whole lives to an adult that they don't even know.
Well, what's amazing is they spill it to you guys though immediately. It's
Yeah.
it's almost like I've seen them. It's almost like I think this guy could protect me. So it's are there any stories? Because I know you've done so many of these things, and I've seen a number of really horrible stories that people are willing to share. Are there any that stick out to you out of all the schools you've gone to? Kids maybe that you stayed in touch with, or that stories that they've shared with you, not using names obviously, but that have stuck with you guys?
Yeah, for sure. Probably one of our first kids that we've mentored. He was similar to my situation growing up. He's a big kid. He was just, he was different than all his friends. He was 2 foot taller than everyone else, and he was really struggling. I mean, he's moved schools and a bunch of just to try to find solutions to the problem of being bullied and being picked on, and it was a struggle for him. And then now, like, we've been able to mentor him over the past 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and to see him make that transformation into this. I mean, he's starting on his junior varsity team. He's made all these new friends. He's gotten in shape. He's done all these things, and now he's like the popular kid in his school. And I think that it's just so cool to see. These kids don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. They don't know what's going to happen in their lives, and to see a kid find that and to find and be who he wants to be is just so special and just so remarkable to us. And just to see his success and the things he's done so far has been so cool.
I think too, it's crazy just the trustworthiness these kids have and just random, because we've only known them for the amount of time we're at their school. And, we have kids, you've been there talking about, trying to commit suicide,
Right.
their friends trying to kill themselves, they're, cutting themselves, all this, the gamut of things you could ever think of, the worst things possible. They're just telling, I guess, to strangers to them, so that's why we try to create a very safe and very, controlled environment. And because you will get people like that do want to share and are able to be, or do want your counsel. So I think that, and then also having that way, because you can, if you go on our website and send us an email, it only goes to Bradley and I. So we're able to answer that. And, we get a lot of kids. You'll go and then there'll be 10, 20 kids after, like, I didn't really want to share because my bully was sitting next to me, or I didn't feel comfortable, or something like that. And so we'll be able to counsel them through online. So that's been really helpful too. We've gotten a lot of kids through there, which has been great.
And that website is, just in case anybody is looking, is?
Yeah, it's Brad, Brad, Nikki, Nikki, Bozeman, Bozeman.com. And you'll see like the whole gamut of our story, how we started, pictures of all, the schools we went to, our cross country tour, which we'll talk about in a minute. And
Absolutely.
You'll see everything on there. And then the contact us is, what comes straight to Bradley and I.
That is great. So let's see if I can figure out technology. I'm not good at technology at all, but let's see if this works. And can you see that?
Yeah, it's cut off a little on the top, but it's okay.
Got it. Let me see if I can move this around. There's all these nifty gadgets. Did that work? Well, this is the Brad. I wanted to launch into this a little bit before we talk about the tour, the national tour, which is absolutely incredible. This is the logo for the Brad and Nikki Bozeman Foundation. And let me make this. Nope, that's not what we wanted. Here we go. Whatever. Let's go back. I'm going to get rid of it. All right. So you guys created a foundation. And for those who are football fans and they saw all of the Baltimore Ravens wearing costumes, and actually I think Lamar Jackson in his Harry Potter outfit, that went viral, of course. You guys were you were Fred Flintstone, and you were dressed up as I can't remember her name. Wilma, I can't remember. Wilma, right?
Right.
Is it Wilma?
Yeah.
Wilma.
Fred
and Wilma. That's right. It's been a while.
Our mobile.
Wilma, Betty or Wilma, I can't remember which, but it was just an amazing. So you had this incredible launch party, which was incredible. And tell everybody about the foundation. What you're trying to do, what you maybe hope to accomplish with the foundation.
Yeah, so it was started in October of 2018. So we're going on. This will be our second full year, and so we basically were trying to. I mean, obviously, we go to schools and we host assemblies at schools, and we do that free of charge to the school because we do really feel like that to try to spread our message and to get us in front of many kids as possible. So we are a self-funded assembly. And then we also host events during the year. Like Bobby was talking about last year, we hosted that Halloween event. We'll see what happens with the pandemic. We're hoping to do it again this year, but it's just kind of dependent on where we're at in the state of the state. So we are gonna hopefully do that, and then we have a couple other things. We've done some face masks with custom logos and stuff like that. And so we're able to kind of raise money that way to then donate it to Nourish Now, which are our friends who are feeding families in Baltimore. But basically, really just to have like grassroots efforts to help children, whether it's going to schools and telling our stories. Like right now, we're just trying to help any way possible because obviously we can't go host assemblies. So that's what we're trying to do with the face mask to raise money to then feed families with foods from different local businesses, supporting local businesses. They're making the masks. So a small business in downtown Baltimore is making the masks. We're selling the masks to protect everyone, and then all the proceeds are going to fund feeding families with Nourish Now. So. Just whatever's current and relevant, we're trying to stay in that realm because obviously assemblies aren't possible right now. So just really anything we can do to help the community.
It's amazing. So Nourish Now is helping to feed people currently kind of in Maryland with the people that are having issues because of the coronavirus, and so they're getting food out to families and so forth.
Yeah, so it's actually really cool. It's a really cool organization. So basically, they take food, whether it's from stadiums, whatever, that is brand new. Basically, they can't be used, and that it would normally be thrown away. It is then donated to Nourish Now. They repackage all the food for perishable boxes to give to families. This is year round. They do this. I think. I looked on their website. Since 2011, they've repurposed and donated almost 3 million pounds of food.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, anyway, and then they're also right now partnering with local businesses and restaurants so that they can keep people employed, and they can buy hot meals through the businesses to then donate to families. So it's just like a whole gamut of just really being able to feed the local families that have really been affected by COVID, and then just everyday life year round. They're doing, 3 million pounds in 8-9 years is pretty impressive.
It's amazing. So you're kind of taking a hiatus a little bit because the schools are closed, and now branching out into doing food insecurity issues and things like that. That's amazing.
Right.
All right. So I think everybody has heard about it since it was all over the media, but it was in Sports Illustrated. I mean, it was everywhere. And I think mostly because people were shocked at the mode by which you did this. But at the end of the football season, you two jumped into an RV, and instead of doing like a vacation, you decided to make your vacation wrapped around your big issue of anti-bullying. And from what I read and from what I know and from having talked to you, you went to schools all over the country. Now it's not just Alabama and the Baltimore area, Maryland, but all over the country to share your message. So how was it? What did you find? Where did you go? I think people really want to hear about the tour that you took. And how was it to be in an RV all that time?
It was absolutely amazing. I mean, honestly, it was one of the coolest things we've ever done in our lives. We started in Maryland, and we've made our way to Kennesaw, Georgia, which is Nikki's hometown.
That's what I was gonna say. Are you gonna take them through all this?
Yeah, I'll take them through.
We'll just take you on like a mini virtual.
We want to hear it all.
Okay.
And then it got shut down at the end because of the coronavirus. But we want to hear about these things and where did you go? And what did you find?
Up until then, even the bad stuff.
Right. So went to Kennesaw, Georgia, which is Nikki's hometown, and we spoke there.
So we got to go to my middle school, kind of like where it all started. And my science teacher from, I think she's 6th or 7th grade, is now the principal. So she was there, and it was really cool to see her. Because I walked in because I was under Bozeman. She's like, "You're a Hegstetter." I'm like, "Yep, that's me." She's like, "Oh my gosh, I remember you." So that was fun. So then we went to his hometown.
Yeah, so we went to my hometown where kind of my issues were. And we've spoken there before, but it's always so special and so different. No matter how many times we go to a school, because there's always new issues. So we were there, got to see my family. We saw Nikki's family in Kennesaw. Then left from there, and we went down to New Orleans, and we spoke at Harry S. Truman Middle School.
Yes.
In New Orleans and it was during Mardi Gras, so we were able to
spend
Valentine's Day there, and
we spent Valentine's Day eating crawfish down on Mardi Gras.
Nice.
So, yeah.
It was really cool. So we got to experience Mardi Gras a little bit.
Also, the nice thing about traveling in a camper is we only technically stayed in these towns like 48 hours. So we would like pull in, hook up, go see something that night, go to the school the next day, and then leave the next day. But because we were in a camper, we didn't have to like pack a bag, unpack a bag, pack a bag, unpack a bag. By the end of the trip, it took us like 15 minutes. Like we were like, it was like a science. So, but anyway, so you got to pull in and you actually got some time to do something, which was nice. It made it like you were there for more than 48 hours because we were traveling in an RV. So anyway, so then we're going to the next one.
Yeah, and then so we went to Dallas from there.
Okay.
We spoke there, had a good time. We got to have some good barbecue. Went horseback riding.
Yeah, I'd never been horseback riding before.
Okay.
So
yeah.
And wait, let me just take a stop for a second. Is that where I read the article about you and some giant steak?
That was the next
one.
So
okay.
we had a drive from Dallas, Texas, all the way to Albuquerque.
Okay.
And so we stopped at Amarillo, that kind of the halfway point, and we were on a local radio show. We called in. We're on the way to Amarillo. Wait, that's where the big steak challenge is. And I was like, "What big steak challenge?" He's like, "Oh, you have to try it." And like we call him the weekly with him. And so it was like, okay, I'll try it, whatever. Like I had no clue what it was. We get there, they put you up on the stage.
It's called the Big Texan.
Yeah, the big Texan. And so they put you up on the stage right in front of the grill. You're drinking out of pink cups.
It's live streamed.
Live streamed, like everything. It's a 72-ounce steak, which is about 4.5 pounds.
It's like this big.
And
did you do it?
So yeah, we started
barely.
We started, and I go through the whole thing, and I think you have an hour to eat it. It's a steak, 4 fried shrimp, a potato, a roll, and a salad, and you have to eat it all under an hour. And I finished it in 49 minutes and 8 seconds. So I had a little bit of time to spare, but it was a really hard challenge. And actually, they were really cool. It kind of blew up on social media, and the Big Texan started donating for anybody that completed the challenge in March. They would donate $50, and if anybody that beat my time, they would donate $100. So they were really cool. It was very nice to meet them and then to get to their steakhouse. And then
What number were you?
I was like the 2006 or something.
Yeah, something out of like
Out of
110 or 20,000 or something.
That's almost as big as me.
It's been around since like 1960, 19 something.
A long time.
Yeah,
That's
it's been around a
amazing.
long time.
And again, just for the people that are listening, like this wasn't just I mean, you were stopping every one of these stops. You were going to speak to kids at a school everywhere you went. So you spoke to kids in Dallas, and you spoke to kids in Amarillo.
No, Amarillo was just an over.
Amarillo just stopped by.
Dallas to Albuquerque was too long to drive in one day.
And just as you're going through the tour, I'm curious, how did the kids find you? Because obviously, you guys are Baltimore Ravens, and we love it here, and you're Alabama, obviously, but how did they take it? I mean, you didn't go to Pittsburgh, did you? Just want to make sure. Okay, just want to make sure of that.
But I think I was kind of nervous because, like, I know when you and I were calling some of the California schools, they were like, man, we don't know what that is. Like, we're with the Baltimore Ravens. Like, he plays with the Ravens. They're like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm really sorry. Like, we don't know. And, like, even, like, the Utah school, they're like, we don't have a professional team. Like, we don't know what you're talking about. So I was like, all right, we're going to see if we're good at this or not, because none of these kids know who we are. And so it was a little scary at first. The first couple of schools, obviously no one had any idea who he was or we were. So we got good at like the intro part. So being able to explain, the accolades and what we've done. And everyone does know Lamar Jackson across the country. So if anyone was wondering, they know him. So, so they kind of put 2 and 2 together that he blocked for Lamar Jackson, and then he instantly became cool. So, so that's how they kind of figured it out. But it was great. I mean, every school was so different because we went to like inner city schools, we went to schools in the middle of nowhere, we went to huge schools, we went to small schools, we went to low income schools, we went to high income schools. We literally went to every school possible. And they had 11 or 1,200 kids to 250 kids. So it just was everyone. But I think that it's crazy. We were kind of going to like change our message a little bit depending on the school and the like nuance of what was going on and relative to them. But we really didn't. Every message was the same because every problem was the same, which is crazy to us that you can take every kid, and now I can say every kid across the country is literally having these same exact problems, and it doesn't matter if you live in Baltimore, Alabama, or Los Angeles, or San Francisco, or Salt Lake City. They all have the same exact issues. So that was, I don't want to use the word cool, but it was interesting to see that no matter where we went, that it's literally the exact same, which just shows that this is a huge issue.
Yeah. No doubt. It's really, it's incredible what you guys are doing, and incredible the breadth. And I mean, you can see it even now. I want to hear more about the tour, but people are in their homes right now and online, and the cyber bullying that's going on right now is just, I mean, you can actually just any day go on, and not just at kids, but at adults also, just people getting picked on. And it's growing. It's an issue. It's such an important issue you guys are working on. I mean, it's really, it's inspiring to see you guys and what you do. But anyway, we're in Amarillo. You ate the steak.
Oh yeah.
And then,
okay. So
and then
Amarillo
you moved on.
ate the steak. Albuquerque was like an amazing school. I'll always remember Albuquerque because of the school. It was just like we stayed there for 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours.
They like, in our normal presentation is about an hour and a half. They asked so many questions. They were so into it. We talked to everyone basically in the school. We hung out and ate lunch with them. Like it was just like it was a big day, and it was so much fun. And they were just a great group of kids and counselors and staff. So I loved that school. That's what I always remember when I remember Albuquerque. And then we got to go like to the top of this Sandia Peak, this mountain, which was super cool and like topped off the day with that. And the Ravens crew flew out for that one, so that was cool for them to be able to be there.
The Baltimore Ravens media crew came out for that one?
Yes.
Yep. So they flew out to Albuquerque, and then we went together. We had like the radios in the cars. We were like, "Are you guys still behind us?" So we kind of followed each other to the Grand Canyon. So then we went to the Grand Canyon. We stayed in Williams, Arizona, and it was so much fun. That was another great school. They had the Williams was the smaller school. Remember where they went?
Yes.
They had a smaller school, but they had like this group of kids that had went to a bullying conference like a couple weeks before in Phoenix. So we got to like meet with them separately, and they're really like advocates in the school. And it was like, you know, jocks to everyone else you could think of. And so that was really cool getting to speak with them. And then from there, we went to Los Angeles. We stayed Castaic, which was a little bit north. Again, another great school. We got to talk with their principal for a while, and that was just a really cool experience. San Francisco we stayed there for the longest because it was halfway. And good thing we did because the truck and the trailer broke down. And so we had a issue with the electricity in the trailer. So Camping World overnighted us apart. So Bradley installed it and we were good. And then the truck, we had to take it into the shop and like get this whole thing fixed. It was this whole big ordeal. But if you follow us on Facebook, you can see that we made lemonade out of lemons because we rented a convertible and just went around the city that day where the truck was broken. Because we did the school earlier in the trip and we were just kind of like taking a deep breath before we traveled back. But the truck broke, but it's fine because we got it fixed. And then, so we were like, just pick somewhere random in between San Francisco and Salt Lake City, which is where his buddy lives. And so we picked this Winnemucca, Nevada. It was like, it's literally just off of 70. It's a random town I just picked because it's off the interstate. It was literally like off the interstate. And we were so excited to go to this town because it was 6,500 people. It's a mining town, but like the principal had called us and they had like, you know, closed down the town. They were welcoming us into the town. You know, it was a big deal for this town. So it was just so cool. We parked, they took us out, they showed us all this, everything with the town. And they, what was the people's names? Remember the
Basque.
Basque. So Basque culture is like a big thing there, the Basque people. So we had like a traditional Basque dinner, which was really cool. And then
A lot of food.
Yeah, it was a lot of food. Like you think the South.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. The South, like a home cooked Southern meal, like is a lot of food. Like we're used to a lot of food. They have a lot of food. Like it was so much food, and it was like that family style. And usually you sit in like tables of 30 or 40 people, and you eat that way. But this one they only had a table of like 4 or 5. But that's usually how you eat. So, but that was.
And you did a middle school there in that town?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a 4th, 5th, and 6th, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they were really good. That was a pretty No. I was gonna say was the Salt Lake City what was the emotional one? No, that was
Williams.
No. No, the Albuquerque.
No, Williams.
Oh, not you emotional. Kids emotional. So the my favorite the Albuquerque one. That's where like the teachers were crying and the kids were crying.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I meant. So anyway, go from Winnemucca. So that was the middle school, that was great because the principal and them were awesome. Salt Lake City, Utah, which was really great. Then we did another school there. And that was really great. I've never been, so like the drive from Winnemucca to Salt Lake, you go through like what is it? Where do you drive through to get there? No, it's Salt Lake City to Denver. To Denver. You go through like what was it?
The Colorado Mountains.
The Colorado Mountains. So
the Rocky Mountains.
Rocky Mountains, the Colorado River.
That must have been beautiful. So you went from Nevada to Salt Lake to Denver.
Right.
We
Did
stayed
another
in
school
Breckenridge.
in Breckenridge, and you did another school in Colorado?
No,
In
so we were scheduled to go to the school at 8:45, and the school principal called at 8:15 and said that their state had just declared no meetings of more than 50.
Got
So
it.
that's where we kind of were like, oh, okay. So, but on the I think the president came out with like this whole big thing, probably the State of the Union two 2 days or a day,
The night before.
the night before. And so I remember we were at this restaurant, and we were with my best friend, and she lives in Denver, and she was like, this is a big thing. Her mom was calling her and telling her about all this stuff. We had no idea what was going on. And then we started watching like all these NBA games get canceled and like all this stuff happening. And we're like, holy cow, this is like a big deal. So then we started calling the other schools because we had 5 schools left
Right.
after Denver. And so 4 out of the 5 by that night had already canceled.
Right.
So we were going to go to this Colorado school, and then it was just going to be safer just to come home. And then the Colorado school canceled. So then we came home. So we went from there. They canceled at 8:15, and then we did that emotional cancellation on Facebook that morning. And then we pretty much packed up our stuff, or we stayed that night. The next morning we left. We drove straight through Kansas City and stayed in Indianapolis for one night. And then we were going to drive straight home, but then his parents had our dogs. So we didn't know what was going to happen, and we didn't want them to get stuck with them. So we drove from Indianapolis down to Alabama, picked up the dogs, and then came home.
Got it. It's an amazing trip. And the
Yeah.
amazing thing, it sounds fun and it's amazing, but what you did is you went from state to state and saw our country, but spread your message of anti-bullying all across the country, and which is just an amazing thing for you all to do on your free time. It's just, I don't think people get it. You go through an entire grueling season, both of you as a player and you as a player's spouse, which is maybe even harder. And
Yeah.
you go through this entire season, and at the end of it, your letdown was to go and spend months across the country spreading this incredible message of hope to these kids, which I just find completely inspiring. So I guess, by the way, I don't know if you can see these, there are questions that are coming in. You got some from your coach, Isaac Garanzik, by the way, Nikki. Wants to know if you're going to continue on. But I've had a bunch and texts that are coming in. People want to know what you're doing now that you're stuck at home, and what is it that kind of what's next? You're heading towards hopefully an NFL season and a Super Bowl run. But between now and kind of hoping that the country gets back, but are you continuing to do schools? Are you continuing to do these things with kids, and how are you doing it since you have to be in your home?
Yeah, so I think another thing that people don't really think about is a lot of kids' stressors come from domestic violence at home. So we have gotten a lot of emails from kids that are like, school was my escape and I don't know what to do. Like, I can't go anywhere. I have nothing to do. Like, I have to stay home all the time. And there all this stuff that's going on. So I've answered a lot of emails from kids that are like, I just don't know what to do. Like, I can't get out. I can't get away from it. Like, school was my 6 hours to be able to like go and talk to people. So that's been really hard because I mean, what do you tell them to do?
Right.
So I've called a couple of the schools and asked maybe if like the teachers could tell the parents, they're going to have a day out with the teacher or something like that, just to kind of pick up the kid and just like let them talk and kind of drive in a car somewhere or something. I don't know, just trying to figure out that. So that's been really hard just because like normally we have answers, and it's hard when kids are looking for something like advice and like I don't know the answer, and so that's been hard. And then but in the positive side of it, we've been able to use this time to get a lot of plans together for upcoming events and for a lot of things we plan to do and want to do, and so it's given us a lot of time to kind of take a step back. And we did talking to like close to 10,000 kids on this road trip and going to over 12 or 13 schools across 13 different states. So it was able to gave us some time to step back and realize that we have done so much, but we want to propel forward, and continue to kind of use that as a springboard and not just like a congratulations, you did that cool thing and now it's over. So that's been kind of our thing, is keeping up with, what's going on, but also to plan for the next events, when the time allows.
Are you going to continue to go to schools here in Maryland? And is that your plan, is to continue to speak to the kids? I've gotten a couple of texts from kids. I see them all the time with you guys. It's like, can you come to my school? Can they come to my school? Can they come to my so I know that even today you're going to talk to Fort Garrison Elementary when this interview is done. Have you been doing some of that stuff? And more importantly, like, are you going to continue doing that, here in Maryland? Do you have any more plans for RV trips around the country, or are you going to take this international? Is the next one to go start doing a European trip of anti-bullying? Like, what's next for the Bozemans?
Yeah, we talked about that. Our only thing with Europe is there would be a little bit of a language barrier depending on where we went. But we have actually talked about that. No, I just blanked on the question.
About
Are you going
to? Future plans. Yes, talking. So we had a bunch of schools scheduled for, April, May. So that was kind of sad that we couldn't go to them. So we're starting to reschedule for the 2021 school year. I think a couple months in. So whenever they start, I think we're giving it a couple months just to make sure that they are going to go back to school on time and stuff like that. So, but we have had, I think September and October, people have booked into October. So we're currently taking schools now for, the October, November stint. And, send a website or send an email on our website. And so that's how kind of we keep up with all the schools. And then we are doing, live, we call them live takeovers. But, if a school has a Facebook account where the kids are, going and daily doing work, we're going to go on live and answer questions, and they can email questions to their teachers and principals. And then we're able to go on and, talk with the kids about those questions. So that's been another thing we've been excited to do.
That's great. I was trying, as you were talking, I was trying to figure out how to stream across bradnickybozeman.com so people could get a hold of you. I could not figure out the technology though, so forget it. I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. But what an amazing, and you're actually doing a school today at Fort Garrison Elementary when you're finished with me here today. It's incredible what you all are doing. So I've had a million questions about football, which we haven't even got to, but this is the important issue. I just want to, is there anything else you want? Any last things you guys want to tell anybody who's listening, whether it's kids or adults, or anything about the issue of bullying? What they should be thinking about.
Just get involved. There's, just to the parents out there, there's a lot of technology out there on bullying and software. I know Verizon does a really good job of that type of tracking, but get out there, do your research, figure out, how to, get involved with what's going on with your child, especially when you see them struggling. Because you want to know those things. You want to know how to help. You want to know, how to respond. So, get in there, do your research. Just you have to get in. You have to have those tough conversations. And like I said, there's a lot of good technology out there now that does a lot of that tracking. So, just as far as language and different behavioral stuff. So.
Yeah, I would say for the kids wise, just to stay encouraged. It's easy when you're on social media, it portrays you're supposed to look a certain way and act a certain way and, do your makeup or hair, whatever, a certain way. I would say just encouraged to, have confidence in yourself regardless of what it is, that you're going through, and know that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. There always will be another day, and that, it's not, I know that's a hard thing for kids, especially at a young age, to see, is like, they think that this is always going to be their life and this is always going to be something they're going to have to deal with. And it's not. As soon as something comes up that's popular to talk about, whether it's you or something else, within the next few hours, the next news cycle will hit, is what we call it. So, and it's the same for professional athletes. I get so mad sometimes at people on Twitter that just talk crap about him, but I have to remind myself, like, the next new thing will come up, and the next, the next thing will happen, and this too shall pass. And so, we're just encourage everyone listening to kind of take a deep breath and, practice your outlet or talk to someone, but know that there is more and brighter and better days to come.
It's as you were just doing this, I just got a text from my friend Christine McComas, who I know you guys have. I think
Oh,
you've been.
yeah.
So here in Maryland, for those who are watching, maybe that are not from Maryland, we have, in honor of her daughter Grace, we created actually 2 series of laws: Grace's Law and then Grace's Law 2.0, which very strong anti-bullying laws, which I know you guys are pushing as well. Maryland's the strongest in the country, and she wanted me to say thank you to you all for everything you're doing, because quite frankly, like, it's inspiring, amazing for the kids to see you two walk in, and know that what they're going through, somebody like you two could be going through, right? I mean, 2 unbelievable athletes that have had the same type of experience as them. So it's inspiring to everything that you two are doing. So I don't want to keep you, because I know you told me it was a strict time limit before you had to
no,
go
you're
to
good.
your next school. Let me make sure. I think I'm in good shape. I got 1 more minute left. So Brad and Nikki Bozeman, let me put up a couple of embarrassing pictures of you guys, just so I can show that I can we've got, now this is a good one. We've got on the football field.
Oh, there you go.
And I found one as we were sitting here. I saw you guys talking, just so people see what this is all about. This is you guys talking to schools. I think I have to put this down and put this one up, because, I mean, this is what it is. The 2 of you up there in front of kids, inspiring them with your incredible message. So just thank you guys for being here. I know you got Fort Garrison in a couple minutes, so have a great experience with them, and good luck with everything you're doing, and thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We really, really appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
All right, and with that, we are done for today. Brad Bozeman, Nikki Bozeman, the Bozeman Foundation. You can find them at bradnickibozeman.com, BradNikkibozman.com. Thank you for everything you all do, and everyone have a great day.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks, Bobby.
Bye, guys.
Bye.